Tonight's commitment ceremony was serving See You Next Tuesday. But before we get into it, if you love my reviews, hit that follow button and let's do this every night together. Morena and Tony were first up on the couch, and Morena explained that Tony needs Tony time. Morning, afternoon, weekends, Tony needs Tony time. She then described Tony as Houdini because he disappears all the time, and the group couldn't control their laughter. But Morena was not impressed. She starts pointing at the group being like, "You gave me a hard time last night and now you're laughing at me. I don't appreciate you laughing at me." Tony turned to her and goes, "And this is why I pull a Houdini. Because you're so hard to talk to." Adrian then accused Morena of only seeing the negative in any situation, and I think this is the first time that I've ever agreed with something Adrian has said. The experts asked Tony who he thinks is responsible for the breakdown of their relationship. He said, "I think it's 50-50. The experts then asked Morena the same question, and she was like, "Oh, well, it's got to at least be, 70-80% Tony's fault." The experts said, "Okay, well then what's the 20% that you're responsible for?" And she was like, well, I don't really know. It took quite a fair bit of coaxing, but eventually she was like, "Oh, well, maybe my tone of voice. Maybe that sometimes. And maybe my hand gestures." "Yes, Morena, your hand gestures are a problem." She described her fight style as passionate, but the experts were like, some people see it as passionate, others see it as perhaps abrasive. Morena was shocked by this revelation and said that she had no idea that that's the way she was being perceived. Tony explained that this is why he can't communicate with Morena. He feels like when she attacks him, he shuts down and then he leaves. But ironically, it wasn't Tony leaving this evening. Morena wrote leave and Tony wrote stay. So these two will be around for another week. Jamie and Dave were up next. The couple are happy. Boring, boring, boring. Let's move on. Oh, they stayed. Karina and Paul were up next. Paul thanked Alessandra for her Intimacy Week challenges and said that things got extra spicy in the bedroom. Paul then confessed that he adored Karina. Karina said that she was in awe of Paul. Pretty sure they're in love. Boring, let's move on. They stayed. Jackie and her apprentice warrior were up next. Ryan admitted to making comments at Alessandra's intimacy workshop that weren't gentlemanly, but Alessandra called him out. She was like, it wasn't not just ungentlemanly, it was disrespectful and they shouldn't have been made. Alessandra wondered why Ryan was finally taking accountability for those things he'd said now after refusing to do so when the group brought it up at the dinner party. She said that she found the pair's flip-flopping of emotions very confusing. Jackie said Ryan brought her flowers this morning and that he's finally being the man that she wants him to be. Alessandra then brought up the photo ranking task and she was like, "Jackie, would you have preferred that Ryan lied in the task?" And Jackie goes, "I don't want him to lie. I want him to find a way to put me first." Everyone was confused. Then Jackie goes on this bizarre rant. She was like, I picture our children and I want to be the parents that always put our children first. And then Ryan looked at her and was like, "I can promise you that you will get that validation from me, especially when we have a son." He then started crying. It was one of the most bizarre, strange things I've ever seen. The experts were pretty much like, "See, you two are both insane. And that's why you're so compatible. Now, did we write stay or leave?" These two freaks were like, "Stay." And they were like, "Wonderful. Go back to the couch." Athena and Adrian were up next, and God, Adrian just drives me mental. Athena, again, tried to explain why she doesn't feel heard, why she doesn't feel seen. Adrian just is so combative, speaks over the top of her constantly, and also just has the dumbest arguments. The experts explained that Adrian shuts down Athena every time she tries to get vulnerable or every time she brings up an issue in their relationship, and that he never lets her win a fight. They then asked Adrian if he wants to be with Athena, and he was like, 100% yes. Then the experts asked Athena the same question, and she started crying and was like, "I think I do." Although I'm not convinced, the couple chose to stay. Rhea and Jeff were up next. By all accounts, their relationship is going strong. They're trying to build an emotional connection before they're physical because they've already done that. Remember, these guys have already dated. So this time, they're working on that deeper bond before they progress to the next stage. However, they said that that should be coming soon. So stay tuned. The last couple on the couch were Sierra and Billy. Now, you could tell that Sierra was just off it. As soon as she sat down, she was sort of checked out. I don't know how else to explain it. It looked like she didn't want to be there. Billy explained that for the first time after their honeymoon, these two had been intimate last night. So he was confused as to why there was a distance between them, because he would have thought that after being intimate, they'd come closer together. Billy said he was craving a deeper emotional connection and wanted Sierra to open up to him. However, she felt uncomfortable doing so in this environment. The experts then asked, okay, well, have you opened up to anyone else in this experiment? And she goes, yeah, I've actually opened up to Adrian. Billy was like, what? She then explained that during intimacy week, Adrian and Sierra both felt uncomfortable with some of the tasks where they were like forced to open up. Therefore, when they were talking about this and how uncomfortable they felt, they then ended up opening up to each other. Weird, right? Because neither of them have opened up to their respective partners. Billy and Afina both explained that they felt quite blindsided by this revelation. Billy asked, why don't you feel comfortable opening up to me, Sierra? To which she responded, well, I just don't want you to see me as damaged goods, which made me feel very sad for her. She's obviously experienced something quite traumatic in her life, and I'm sure it would be hard to open up about that sort of thing on national television. But as Alessandra mentioned, the cameras being around is not really an excuse, because the cameras aren't filming you 24/7. You're alone in bed together every night, and surely that presents an opportunity for you to open up. The couple chose to stay, although I did notice that on the couch there was no mention of the footsies she was playing with Adrian at the dinner party. Do I smell a cheating scandal? Anyway, if you love my reviews, hit that follow button, and I'll be here same time, same place tomorrow.